So what Himanshu just talked about was a particular solution. Thank you. Was a particular solution to how can we distribute some AI artifacts so that we can give open access to them. Everyone can take this model, retrain it, everyone can use it, and meanwhile, we want to be able to track the usage of these artifacts so that later we can incentivize all the contributors for it. So we can see this as two different problems, like a distribution method and an access layer method. But this was a particular solution, and this is a part of a bigger picture that is that like where we want to achieve community built open AGI. What we want for this to achieve this is that like the questions that we want to answer is how do we store data so that it's open for contributions? How can we distribute this AI artifacts for this open access? And meanwhile, we want to be able to track the usage. And with knowing the usage of these AI artifacts, we want to fairly incentivize and reward all the contributors of each version of these AI artifacts. So these are the problems that still remain. And for this, we have some principles that we care about. We want it to be trust-free. We don't want to trust an entity so that they come give access to this AI artifacts because they might, like, at some point decide to close this access. Or we don't want to trust someone for holding the data, like to storing the data and providing it for others. We want this design to be composable. We want different solutions to be able to be applied for each problem. Actually, we want to decouple all these problems. We want a layered architecture where each layer solves a particular problem, and different solutions can be plugged in. So you have different layers. You choose a layer. You don't like the assumptions there. Like take the solution out, plug your own solution in with your assumptions, with your guarantees, and this whole thing still works. This is actually a feature of larger scale networks. For example, internet is built this way, right? Like we have different layers. Each one does a particular, has a particular job to do, and you can have different solutions for each layer. This brings us to a more general protocol for sentient, which is a 4-layer design. Starting from the bottom, we have the storage layer that provides reliable and available storage for the AI artifacts. On top of that, we want to be able to distribute this AI artifacts among people so that they can retrain it, they can use it, and we want to enable open access here. But at the same time, we want to be able to track each usage, each query that goes into these models, into these AI artifacts. That's where access layer comes in. We want to grant this access one by one to the users and then track the usage that is happening through these AI artifacts. Why? So that we finally can get some, collect all the fees and distribute these rewards among all the contributors of those AI artifacts in a fair way. We want to track the ownership of AI artifacts and then give the ability to the owners so that they can decide the future of their artifacts. They can decide what access layer they want to use for it. They can vote for different parameters, and they get incentivized for that. When people use their artifact more fees get collected for them, and then they get more rewards. So maybe I can walk you through a flow of what happens when an AI artifact goes into sentient. Let's say it's a model. We have a builder that has a model and it wants to bring it to sentient so that it will be open for collaboration and anyone can use it. But unauthorized users don't have access and people cannot misuse the model. So first, the builder puts the model on the storage layer. And at the same time, they have to create a profile for this model on the incentive layer. On the incentive layer, they initiate a versioning tree for their AI artifact. And in the owners module, they put their own names and link it with their own version. And also they have a usage tracker there so that the usage of their specific version gets tracked and they can get rewards for that. From now on, Builder doesn't have to do anything else. Now, the distribution nodes from the distribution layer come and get this model, this raw model, and then process it into some M prime. this M prime goes through, like, it can get distributed among all the users so that they can locally store it and they can locally call it, but it is safe. The feature here is that the ownership right is preserved in M prime, so it's kind of enabling this open access. And then the users can come and get this M prime, store it locally, but they can't still query this model. For querying, because we want to track all these queries, right? We don't want them to be able to query without this query going on the incentive layer. So we need another layer in between. This is the access layer's job that gets all the queries and gives back the response only if it ensures that the query goes on the incentive layer. This query in itself has some fee, and this fee goes to the owners of the specific version that got used here. And this atomicity is very important. The access layer is actually ensuring this atomicity. Every query gets responded only if the query goes on the incentive layer. So this brings everything together. The builder is providing some AI artifact, and it's directly getting connected to the user, to the demand. And the fee is directly going to the owners of the AI artifacts. I want to actually zoom in here into this incentive layer and talk a little bit more about it. In the incentive layer, we have 5 main modules. The main thing that we talked about is the owners module. So we want to track the owners of each AI artifact so that we are able to reward them based on the usage that gets reported to the incentive layer. The owner started the profile with an initial version, but any other contributor, even if they don't know this builder, can come in and build a new version. They don't need any they don't need to know anyone from this builders of this AI artifact. They can just put their own version there. It's an upgrade, and then this upgrade will go through the evaluation module. The evaluation module tells us how much this model has improved in this new version. And then based on that, a fair ownership percentage gets rewarded to this new contributor. So from now on, everyone who uses even the upgraded version, the new contributor, as well as the previous owner, gets rewarded for that. So you put your model out there, any new contributor that contributes on it and creates a better version, and people use that, you get a portion of the fees for that. And finally, we have the governance module here that enables owners to collectively make decisions on their artifacts. And we want this all to be to happen in a trust-free way. We also want this to be transparent, right? We want to be able to track the usage of different artifacts ourselves. So right now, people go into the platforms and give star ratings to the projects. So that's how we can gauge how good an AI artifact is. But this is kind of a better way of doing the same thing. Here, you can actually see how much usage goes through an AI artifact. You can actually, if it's transparent, if you can trust it, you can see which AI artifact is being used more, and people are actually paying fee to use it. So this all work together, all these layers, to build this sentient protocol. The storage nodes make sure that you can have the data, you can securely store it. The distribution method makes sure that you have a traceable format of the artifact. The access nodes make sure that you can track the usage and report it to the incentive layer so that we have fair compensation for everyone. And for incentive layer, because of the guarantees that I mentioned, we are using a blockchain, so it naturally brings gives us trust-free and transparency. So all those modules can be contracts implemented on the incentive layer. Also, access layer and distribution layer can have solutions like what Himanshu just presented. So that's a particular solution for that, the backdoors. Also, another way of doing access and distribution layer is TEE that Andrew just talked about. So my point here is that all these layers are kind of plug and play. You can choose your own requirements for each layer. You can have a dictator to decide which users you want to give access with. If you don't like it, you can use the trust-free version that Himanshu presented. So this is the flexibility of the architecture that like all the layers work together when the interfaces are met. To wrap this up, I want to show this that like this is how Promode started with. This is the main motivation that we had. These are the problems that we have, like all the things between AI developers and the AI demand. With this protocol, we are directly connecting all the AI developers that work there to all the AI demand directly. And that's it.